In a high-stakes meeting in Jerusalem on Sunday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lauded former U.S. President Donald Trump's bold vision for Gaza, describing it as a transformative plan that could reshape the future of the conflict-ridden Palestinian territory. The meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio marked a significant step in the coordination of a common strategy between the two allies, as Netanyahu vowed to work toward making Trump's controversial proposal, a U.S.-led takeover of Gaza and the resettlement of its 2 million Palestinian residents, a reality. The discussions come amid escalating tensions in the region, with Netanyahu warning that the gates of hell would open if Hamas, the armed group governing Gaza, fails to release all Israeli hostages. Rubio echoed this sentiment, asserting that Hamas's continued existence as a governing or military force makes peace impossible. The meeting also highlighted the broader geopolitical stakes, including efforts to counter Iran's influence in the region and monitor developments in post-Assad Syria. However, Trump's plan has drawn widespread condemnation from Palestinian and Arab leaders who have rejected it as a violation of international law and an affront to Palestinian sovereignty. The United Nations has warned that any forced displacement of civilians from occupied territory is strictly prohibited and could amount to ethnic cleansing. Despite the backlash, Rubio defended Trump's proposal, arguing that it took courage to challenge the tired ideas of the past and present an alternative vision for Gaza. The meeting between Netanyahu and Rubio underscores the deepening alliance between Israel and the United States, even as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza worsens. According to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry, more than 48,200 people have been killed in the 16-month war, with nearly 70% of buildings damaged or destroyed and critical infrastructure, including healthcare and sanitation systems, in ruins. The ongoing conflict has displaced most of Gaza's population multiple times, leaving them in dire need of food, fuel, medicine, and shelter. As Netanyahu and Rubio outlined their shared goals, ranging from eradicating Hamas's governing capacity to preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. The absence of Palestinian voices in the discussions raised questions about the feasibility of any proposed solution. Unlike previous U.S. peace efforts, Rubio did not meet with Palestinian leaders during his visit, further alienating the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, both of which have emphatically stated that Palestinian land is not for sale. The meeting also touched on the International Criminal Court's (ICC) recent actions against Israeli officials, including an arrest warrant for Netanyahu and his former defense minister over alleged war crimes in Gaza. Netanyahu condemned the ICC's lawfare and thanked the U.S. administration for imposing sanctions on the court. Rubio, meanwhile, accused Iran of being the primary source of instability in the region, alleging that Tehran is behind every act of violence, behind every destabilizing activity, behind everything that threatens peace and stability. Rubio's visit to Israel, his first as U.S. Secretary of State, is part of a broader Middle East tour that will include meetings with Russian officials in Saudi Arabia to discuss the war in Ukraine. Notably, neither Ukraine nor other European countries have been invited to these talks, raising concerns about the potential sidelining of key stakeholders in the conflict. The timing of Rubio's visit is particularly significant as it follows: the arrival of a shipment of American-made Mk-84 heavy bombs in Israel, the delivery, approved by Trump after his predecessor, Joe Biden, blocked the export over concerns about their impact on Gaza has been hailed by Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz as evidence of the strong alliance between Israel and the United States. The 2,000-pound bombs, known for their wide blast radius and destructive power, are expected to bolster Israel's military capabilities as it continues its campaign against Hamas. Meanwhile, the fragile ceasefire in Gaza remains under strain. On Sunday, Hamas accused Israel of violating the truce by killing 3 police officers in an airstrike near Rafah. Israel, however, claimed it had targeted several armed individuals in southern Gaza. The ceasefire, which came into force on January 19, requires a complete pause in fighting for the first 42-day phase, despite fears of its collapse following a dispute over a planned hostage release. The agreement held, with Netanyahu's office confirming that an Israeli negotiating team would travel to Cairo on Monday to discuss the second phase of the ceasefire. As on the brink of further escalation, the meeting between Netanyahu and Rubio highlights the complex and often contentious dynamics shaping the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. While Netanyahu praised Trump's bold vision as a potential path forward, the plan's feasibility and ethical implications remain deeply contested. With Gaza's humanitarian crisis worsening and the geopolitical stakes higher than ever, the path to peace appears more elusive than ever. Key points from the meeting: Netanyahu's endorsement of Trump's plan. The Israeli Prime Minister expressed a strong support for Trump's proposal to resettle Gaza's population, calling it a bold vision that aligns with Israel's strategic interests. U.S. Israel coordination. Netanyahu and Rubio discussed ways to implement Trump's plan, emphasizing their shared commitment to eradicating Hamas's governing capacity and countering Iran's influence in the region. Humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The ongoing conflict has devastated Gaza, with widespread destruction, displacement, and a collapse of essential services. The international community has raised concerns about the humanitarian impact of Trump's resettlement plan. Palestinian and Arab rejection. Palestinian and Arab leaders have universally rejected Trump's proposal, viewing it as a violation of international law and an attack on Palestinian sovereignty. CC controversy. Netanyahu condemned the ICC's actions against Israeli officials, while Rubio reiterated U.S. support for Israel by imposing sanctions on the court. Ceasefire tensions. The fragile ceasefire in Gaza remains precarious, with both sides accusing each other of violations. Negotiations for the second phase of the truce are set to begin in Cairo. U.S. military support. The delivery of American-made Mk-84 bombs to Israel underscores the strength of the U.S. Israel alliance, even as concerns persist about the humanitarian consequences of their use in Gaza. Looking ahead, as Netanyahu and Rubio work to advance Trump's vision for Gaza, the challenges ahead are immense. The plan's reliance on forced displacement and resettlement raises serious legal and ethical questions, while the absence of Palestinian participation in the discussions undermines its legitimacy. Moreover, the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the fragile ceasefire underscore the urgent need for a sustainable and inclusive solution to the conflict. While Netanyahu and Rubio have outlined a shared strategy, the path to peace remains fraught with obstacles. The international community, including the United Nations and human rights organizations, will likely continue to scrutinize the plan's implications, particularly its potential to exacerbate the suffering of Gaza's civilian population. As the region grapples with these complex dynamics, the meeting between Netanyahu and Rubio serves as a stark reminder of the high stakes and deep divisions that define the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.